of the class of Microeconomics Theory 1, right? Okay. So this is the third meeting. The first one I told you about the syllabus and the introduction of the microeconomics. What is it about? How is the definition? Why it is important? What are the things, the topics of microeconomics I've mentioned all in the first meeting. And in the second meeting, I told you another idea of the theory of microeconomics itself. Who are the people who have shared about the microeconomics and what are the theory related to it? And this one, our third meeting, we are going to talk about the consumer behavior. Yeah? You are going to be the consumer and you need to be able to analyze how the consumer will do or make a decision, and it's called as consumer behavior, right? Let's start. This is the purpose of our meeting for today. Like as usual, I always remind you, there will always be tasks, and I need you to come 80% of total meetings. So I know that you have been coming to our third meeting, no one has absence, that's a good job. Thank you for doing that. Because it is an 80%, yeah. The obligation of you to come to my class for this microeconomics theory is 80%. Actually, I've given you 20% of this stuff, yeah. So you can have the absence for 20%. It is still applicable, yeah. There will be quizzes, tasks. Okay. FIFO. Okay, what else? What is other phone? What about you, Fahri? What's your phone? FIFO, yeah? You FIFO? You have FIFO too? Realme, okay. So, but let me ask you, Fahri, do you want iPhone? No? Okay. By the consumer. Let's see. Let's discuss again. What about you, Anissa? Do you want iPhone? If you can, like having it, and you are able to buy it, do you want to have iPhone? Alright, let's see the reasoning. Fahri, why don't you want iPhone?
I don't like.
You don't like it? Okay. The reason is?
Yes.
Why don't you like it?
Because Android is best.
Better. Okay, because Android is better. Anissa, what about you? Has a good camera. And what about prestige? Do you think iPhone has a good prestige?
Yeah.
Branding?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe this is also related to gender, yeah? Fahri is the male version of someone who really like, I don't really care what my handphone brand is. But as a girl, as a female, then Anissa will think this is important to have a branded phone. Yeah? So this is that we are going to discuss and talk about consumer behavior. What is behind those things? So there will be a perception of value, how important the value is to the consumer. Fahri thinks that the important value is the usage. So the easy common use of usage of Android, he thinks that it is more important. But for the other one, for Anissa, she thinks that branding, camera usage is like for her self-branding too, right? So branding is important. Yeah, this is what we call as perception of value. Okay, to achieve the goals. So they make decision based on the goals that they want to achieve. Now in pairs, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I need you to discuss example of rational consumption. I'll give you 2 minutes, please. Make the example of a rational consumption. Actually, I've given you the example of those two. You just have to give another example. Okay. Anyone volunteer to answer these questions? What is the example of rational consumption? Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Based on our discussion, the example of the rational consumption is like someone wants to make a YouTuber content and they will buy a good camera even if it is expensive, so it's rational. The reason why she or he buy a camera because she wants to be a YouTube content.
Good job. Good. Yes. That's what we call as rational consumption. Someone has set a goal, yeah, and then they are willing to spend how much they're willing to spend it, because in the in the final end, there will be gaining the goals. Yeah, the target will be achieved. So this is what we call as rational consumption. Now, we have to also remember, the goals of the common, this is the common usage, yeah? The common consumer want to maximize their happiness, or we call it satisfaction. In economics theory, we call as utility. Okay? Satisfaction and happiness is measured by the utility of the product that they buy. And as long as the consumers are making the decision that they are assuming they are achieving their goals, so they are being rational. This is what we call as consumer behavior, right? Okay, then to explain the theory of consumer behavior, there will be different preferences, but there are some basic assumptions about preferences. There are 4. The first one, completeness. Okay? Preferences are assumed to be complete. So you cannot stand in a gray situation. You're gonna have to choose. Yeah, you cannot be in the middle. I think I want to have food and I also want to have clothing, but not like that. The preference is clear. I want to have more food than the clothing, or I want to have more clothing than the food. So that's called preferences. It's the same in the real world. So you cannot, what is it? The person in your life should be number 1. That's the common usage, yeah? And no one wants to be the second one. So this is also related to preferences. It should be clear. It should be complete. Prefer A or prefer B or A. You need to make the choices. Number 1, you are going to discuss within 2 minutes. Start from now. I've mentioned the 4 basic assumptions. After this, we're going to talk more and discuss question number 2. Right now, discuss question number 1. Okay. 2 minutes is over. Who is willing to give the answer? Oh, yes, please.
There are all possible baskets of goods and services, and preference are transitive. This means that preference are consistent in the if bundle A is preferred to bundle B and bundle B is preferred to bundle C, then bundle A is preferred to bundle C, and more is preferred to less. This means that all goods are desirable and that the consumer always prefers to have more of a good. And fourth, diminishing marginal rate of substitution. This means that indifferent curves are convex and that the slope of the indifference curve increase. As we move down along the curve, as the consumer moves down along the indifference curve, she is willing to give up fewer units of the good on the vertical axis in exchange for one more unit of the good on the horizontal axis. And this assumption also means that those market baskets are generally preferred to baskets that have a lot of one good and very little of the other good.
Okay, thank you, applause please. Good job. Thank you, Anissa. Okay, move on. So, this one, how to describe consumer preferences. You can see the picture in the indifferent curves. Yeah, okay. So, how do we describe the individual preferences in the indifference curve? You can see from the picture A, B, D, E, H, G. Yeah, the table that we see before, the amount of food and clothing, it is described in this curve. You can see here the X line is food units per week, and the Y line, is clothing units per week. Yeah, the dots, the A dots there, you can see that the food is 20 and the clothing is 30. Different curve. This is actually the same. It's just now we can see clearly the red line. We call it as indifferent curve. Yeah, curve representing all combination of market basket that provide a consumer with the same level of satisfaction. So, if you want to know the same satisfaction, you are seeing the indifferent curve. B, A, and D, those are the comparison of the indifferent curve. Yeah, in the same line of indifferent curve. So, in the same level of satisfaction. Right. That's the notice. You can see the indifferent curve U. Yeah, U1. If they move above, if they move to the right, there will be U2. Yeah, you can see what are the changes later. The indifferent curve 1 that passes through market basket shows all basket that gives the consumer the same level of satisfaction, like included in basket B and D, the same satisfaction. So this person will likely to have, it's okay for me to buy 20 food, 30 clothing. It's okay for him or her to buy 10 food or 50 clothing. The same satisfaction. This person will don't mind. Yeah, this is what I meant by the same satisfactions. Our consumer prefers basket E. Basket E, which lies above U1. But it means that they don't have the same satisfaction. So it could be assumed as a higher satisfaction, right? But prefer A to H and G. You can see here the position of the dot H and G is below A, right? So not the preference. I've mentioned to you that the curve of indifference will shift. Yeah, the shifting from U1 to U2, it means that U2 has a higher satisfaction, and U3 is the same. Yeah, so the more curve move to the right, the higher the satisfaction is. Okay, an indifference map is a set of indifferent curves that describe a person's preferences. Okay, let's see indifferent curve U3. U3 knowledge that you need to have. Usually, on your final task of comprehensive knowledge, they will ask you. Trust me, because I got it. Okay, so here, the other rule that you need to remember, indifferent curves cannot intersect. You means that if the shape it is the right one, it needs to align above or below. It cannot cross a line. It cannot intersect. So we cannot compare the satisfaction between those two curves. Yeah, because it is intersect. So it cannot be that way. So according to this diagram, the consumer should be different among basket A, B, D. So they are in different market. Yeah, we are talking in a bundle. That means in the same market. These two curves, they have the different market. So we cannot discuss more about the level of satisfaction and the level of utility as well as the marginal utility. This is a different market. Alright, discuss questions number 2 and 3. Let me give you 2 minutes. That's all my explanation. Number 2 and number 3. Here. Number 2. Can a set of indifferent curves be upward sloping? If so, what would this tell you about the two goods? That's question number 2. Question number 3. Explain why two indifferent curves cannot intersect. Yeah, I just mentioned it. 2 minutes. Yes. Ready? Question number 2. Who is willing to answer the question? Right. Thank you. Here we go.
I will try answer question number 2. A set of indifferent curves can be upward sloping if we find assumption number 3. More is preferred to less. When a set of indifferent curves is upward sloping, it means one of the good is bad, so that the consumer prefer less of that good rather than more. The positive slope means that the consumer will accept more of the bad only if he also receives more of the good is returned. As we move up along the indifferent curve, that consumer has more the good he likes, and he also more of the good he does not like. Thank you.
Good job. Thank you. Applause, please. Good. Right. I mentioned number 3 also going to be discussed. Yeah. Who is willing to answer? Number 3. All right.
I will try to answer number 3. It's about explain why the two different curves cannot intersect. The figure below shows the different curves intersecting at the point A. We know from the definition of an indifferent curve that the consumer has the same level of utility for every bundle of goods that lies on the given curve. In this case, the consumer is indifferent between bundles A and B because they both lie on indifferent curve utility 1. Similarly, the consumer is indifferent between bundles A and C because they both lie on indifference curve U2. By the transitivity of preference, this consumer should also be indifferent between C and B. However, we see from the graph that C lies above B, so C must be preferred to B because it contains more of good Y and the same amount of good X as does B, and more is preferred to less. But this violates transitivity, so indifference curve must not intersect. Thank you.
Okay. So, thank you. Applause, please. Two curves cannot intersect. Yeah, you have to remember that. Right, move on. Word is substitute. Means that one is better than the other one. Yeah, so that's the rule of substitution. Okay. You're also going to also remember there will be complements. Okay. In bahasa, if one to another good is complementing each other, in bahasa we call it lengkap. Okay, saling melengkapi. But if the other good can replace of the good, it's called substitute. Yeah, these two ideas you need to remember. So we're going to talk about the marginal rate of substitution. What does it mean? It means that the maximum amount of a good that a consumer is willing to give up, yeah, in order to obtain one additional unit of another good. You have to refer your flashback your memory to the definition of opportunity cost. Yeah, it's almost the same when we talk about marginal rate of substitution. So I'm okay to give up 5 of this in order to get 4 of that. Yeah, marginal of substitution. So let's see the indifferent curve. A, B, D, E, and G. Yeah, we're going to measure the MRS. In this figure, the MRS between clothing and food. So remember, this is the food, this is the clothing. It falls from 6. Yeah. -6, you can see the number there, -6 between A and B. So that's it called as MRS. It is 6 between A and B. How about B and D? See here, -4. How about D to E? -2. How about E to G? -1. Yeah? Now see there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? Constant. But here, perfect complements. In B, someone named Jane. Jane used left shoes and right shoes as perfect complements. Yeah? And an additional left shoe give her no extra satisfaction. Oh yes. Are you satisfied with only wearing one shoes? No. Yeah, so compliments mean if you drink coffee without sugar, some of people dislike that. So it is not, it should be complement with sugar or cream. Yeah. The right shoes should be complement with the left shoes. Yeah. So the shape of the perfect complements is L. Yeah, the angle of right. That's the shape of the perfect complement. Remember this, there will be questions in your final. You got it now? After a few years later, the lecturer asks you again, what is the perfect complement shape of curve? What is the shape of the perfect substitute? Trust me, it happens. Right, so this is only an example consumer preferences between Ford Mustang and Ford. Yeah, the famous car Mustang, very expensive. You know, it's very fast, right? So in America, Ford is the most also famous car. In Indonesia, usually Honda. But in America, they use Ford. Here, you can see the picture. That's the convex indifferent curves. They are simultaneously different. Yeah, the owners of Ford Mustang folks are willing to give up a considerable interior space for additional acceleration. So they don't care about the space in the car. They choose to have a very fast car. Yeah, that's called Mustang. Here, utility is the numerical score representing the satisfaction that a consumer gets from a given market basket. And the function is the formula. The utility is the numerical number, and the utility function you can see here that UFC equals to FC. That's the formula. But the number U3, the utility is 100.